So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Builders Billions podcast. We're also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets podcast and Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast because we have a unique guest today. He's a real estate broker coach. He's helping multiple agent brokerages scale, increase profits, and reclaim their time. We're going to be talking about just that. Like if you're a real estate agent today, or really just an advisor of any sort for your clients, ways to scale your practice, ways to increase your sales skills, and ways to ultimately add more value to those that you're serving. Please welcome to the show with me, Wayne Einhorn. Wayne, how are we doing?
I'm doing excellent, Brett. Thanks for having me here today.
Mm-hmm. And for our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us just a little bit more about your story and then your current focus?
You know what? I've got real estate in my bones. I started in real estate out of high school, sold real estate for a number of years, was very successful at that, opened my own brokerage, did that for 10 years, sold that, was one of the first guys to sell for a profit but when that wasn't a thing, and went back, got an MBA at an Ivy League university and started consulting people in the real estate industry.
What was the number one secret to moving from brokerage to consulting that was the most surprising for you?
You know what? Probably the number of people that struggle in this industry. You know, that are really that have great services, that could great they can do it. They just don't know how to do it.
And you went to get that education, and then you started to do the thing. And so what did you learn, right? Because obviously it's different than like running a brokerage or being the agent versus running the brokerage, and then to consulting to those that are running the brokerage, helping the agent, right? So what's the shift, the main shift there?
Well, I look at I went back and did an MBA, and I look at that as a formal sort of degree, but I always say, Brett, I got my PhD in the University of Hard Knocks long before then. And that's really what is important is, what the MBA taught me how to do is communicate things in a really structured way. I didn't know how to do that. I was your atypical real estate broker. I remember when I did my MBA, I had to go to a course on how to use an Excel spreadsheet. Like I didn't know how to use an Excel spreadsheet. So, but now that gave me the kind of formal ability to communicate what I learned. I would never look back.
Excellent. So let's dive right into that. What's the number one secret to scaling a real estate brokerage in today's environment?
I think this sounds kind of everybody says it, but it really is mindset. And what I mean by mindset is the common view in the real estate brokerage industry is you can't make money in brokerage. And my experience is there's more money to be made today than ever. And I've been 41 years in this business. And people often say, Brett, I remember back in the 50 days, if we could only go back there. Yeah, no, we're making way more money today than the 50 days. And so once brokers get their head around that there's some significant profit to be had, then we can go about figuring out how to get a hold of it.
Okay, so mindset's number one. So let's just say they do have that mindset and they do believe. Now, what's the second step to scaling your real estate brokerage?
Understanding how to do it, right? What I call the secret sauce. And again, the challenge today in the real estate industry is everything you learn as a broker or an agent, for that matter, doesn't prepare you for the business. It's a little bit. I use the analogy, Brett. It's like you want to learn how to play golf, and they teach you the rules, and then send you out in a course, and you know how to swing a club, right? And so we got to figure out what's the secret sauce to swinging the club, and so we have 7 core competencies, 7 strategic areas, and we have systems in each one of those areas that helps brokers get a hold of their business and drive profitability and scale.
Okay, got that. All right. And so, right, because a business owner is very different than just selling the real estate. Running a brokerage is very different than selling the real estate. And I think the myth is that, hey, if I can sell real estate, I can run a brokerage, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the entrepreneur's myth, right? Is I'm going to do it better than the next guy. And one of the things I've seen over and over in this business over the years is when agents do that, they tend to think that they can come up with a better pricing model. And the reality is, if you're running a bricks and mortar brokerage, so cloud brokerages aside, they have a significant advantage in this area. But bricks and mortar brokerages, we all have the same overhead. We all buy our computers from HP. I'm on an HP computer, and we all get our services from Verizon or whoever you buy it from, and whatever your local utility is charges you all the same price for electricity, and your staff wants to drive the same cars and live in the same houses, so we got to pay them the same. And so the cost base is the same, right?
So let's break that down. The difference between cloud and brick and mortar, and what do you find is the best, or does it not matter from what you're teaching?
I think it doesn't matter, but where the cloud brokerages have a significant advantage, first of all, their expansion, the way that they view expansion is much more progressive. So if I'm in a franchise, and you mentioned, hey, I'm in Florida and I'm on the other side of Florida from you, and if you want to expand over here and we're the traditional franchise, we got to buy another office, where the cloud doesn't care. It's, hey, open up. So that's big. Number two is, from an overhead perspective, is centralized processing. And so if you centralize all your processing, you're going to have a much bigger advantage than if I'm an old school brokerage and I got 40 offices with 40 administrators, and it's a big advantage.
It seems like that brokerage, the brick and mortar, is on the way out. I mean, do you think they'll still be around in 5 or 10 years, or maybe just in luxury or commercial real estate, or like what's your instinct on that, Wayne, after you've been in it for so long?
I think there's different strokes for different folks, if you will. Some people function really well in a cloud-based brokerage. Some people can't. And so large teams that really function like brokerages, they tend to do really well in the cloud, right? But having said that, the bricks and mortar brokerages, I mean, they've done a heck of a job of competing and creating an environment for teams to function as well. So, I mean, if you've got a bricks and mortar brokerage, the big issue you've got is you got to have some size. When I started in real estate back in the 80s, I remember there was a large, huge independent, Brett, in our town, in our region, and they had a policy, and that is you can only have 25 agents per office. And I remember going in to apply for a job, and the guy goes, "Hey, I think you'd be really good, but you're number 26." So it's like that's what it was like, right? Today, hey, if you don't have 125, you're not making money.
Yeah, the ability to scale and cover that overhead is huge. Okay, so now let's get back to the strategy here, right? So having the mindset, having a framework and working with someone like yourself, Wayne. What's the other next step to making sure that you're scaling in today's marketplace?
I think once if I've got the mindset, I'm going to do it. I've got the plan. The next thing I need is a little bit of discipline to get the job done. I think of getting a job done, Brett, as a twofold or a two-step process. One, I need the intellectual property. I need to know how. And number two, I need a little accountability. I need some self-discipline to get it done, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then what about the brokerages what are the best ones doing to attract and retain talent? How are they adding the most amount of value to those agents so that they don't just go to the cloud or just don't start their own?
Yeah, they're really, one of our core competencies is something called uniqueness, and it's really about defining your differentiators. And so they're very good at creating differentiators that offer value to agents. Most typically, that is in the form of helping them make more money. Could be lead generation, could be internal coaching, could be specific marketing products, could be, you mentioned luxury market share in a particular segment. But they know exactly what they're offering to agents. They know exactly what the monetary value of that is to agents. And so, like any business, they know what they offer. They know, hey, this is the value it provides the customer. and they're able to, excuse me, charge more for the service than it costs to produce, which is fundamental business 101.
Got it. That's really cool. So that, it's really key to have the uniqueness down, articulate it, show it, and be able to deliver it for the agents. I'm speaking with Wayne Einhorn, everybody. Wayne Einhorn, you can learn more about what he's doing. Inner Circle Brokerage Coaching, innercirclebrokerage.coaching.com, innercirclebrokerage.coaching.com. He's got a profit playbook, 4 steps to boost profit. You can download his guide. And so let's keep going here. So the real estate market itself, I would say, has been challenging the last 24 months, but what would you say?
That's probably an understatement, because, here's the reality, Brett. There's 3 kinds of markets, actually 4 kinds of markets that we look at. There's a changing market is the transition. So let's say we're not in a changing market. Three other types of markets are high transaction, medium transaction, low transaction. High transaction was COVID, 2020, 21, 22. Medium was 2013 to 2019, let's say 2020. And low transaction market, of course, was 08, 09, 10, 11, and 23, 24, 25. And so what does that mean? Well, in a high transaction market in the United States, there's about 6.5 million sales, give or take. In a low transaction market like 2025, we're struggling to crack 4 million. And so the transactions, everybody remembers the Great Recession. The reality is we're the annual transaction count is lower today, lower than in the Great Recession of 2008.
Yeah, that's staggering, right? I feel like that's like the stat people don't know. So it's lower transactions today than it was in the Great Recession.
Sure. And if you're an agent, Brett, or a broker, that's how you get paid. You get paid on transaction count, right? It's great to say prices are going up, they're going down, they're sideways. That's not how we get paid. We get paid when stuff sells.
Yeah, and I take it another step forward. We get paid when we solve a big enough problem for a client who has a large enough desire to actually make a big change in their life. Speaking of that, we were kind of talking about capital gains tax before this. I think one of the biggest, lowest hanging fruit that's missed is with the luxury residential real estate market. And not knowing how to help them defer capital gains tax, because a 1031 exchange does not work for luxury real estate, and if it's a primary home, right? And so they just don't even have a solution. And so they walk into these listings and they're like, hey, sell your house for $10 million. They're like, I want 15. You're like, well, why do you want 15? Well, because I got this tax.
I got to pay the tax.
Well, it's not worth the 15, right? And you're like, well, we have a solution for that. Like, I think it boggles my mind. I started at Keller Williams. Yeah. I went to Marcus and Millichap, right? And I just find that there's the whole luxury way of selling is almost like, look at the personal brand of this, the fancy agent who's really cool on the front page of the magazines and, really attractive and has a track record of selling big places. Like, don't get me wrong, like that, but like, the capital gains tax is like huge. I mean, you're talking about New York, New Jersey, California, Illinois, these big tax states, Montana, like these big, ultra, appreciate. So, I mean, am I missing something, Wayne, or help me out?
You know what? You're not missing something. I think, unfortunately, what you do, and you and I talked a bit about this before, Brett. I haven't had the pleasure of dealing with your company. We just met a few days ago, but I've certainly done a number of those kinds of transactions. And more people need to know about what you do. It's so straightforward. And even the 1031 exchange, if it's a straight 1031, the timing often doesn't work. So I've got some money in my hand, and all of a sudden I got a burn on to go have to put it into something that may not be a great investment. Well, you've got all of that problem solved. So you got the luxury piece solved. You've got the timing of the 1031 solved. Hey, and I don't know why more people don't know about it. I don't know why more people don't use it.
Yeah, and that's what I just want to share everyone. Anyone who's listening right now, who's in the luxury real estate agent market or the commercial real estate brokerage, we have a way to eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange. We did an $8 million plus primary luxury home in Palo Alto on this strategy, $7.9 million deal in Santa Cruz on the strategy, $13 million in San Diego. Like, we have the track record, we have the model. It just needs to be set up prior to the close of escrow. And also a couple downfalls to it. If the primary homeowner needs to buy or needs all of the money to buy their next primary, we can't defer into taxes on capital gains to buy a primary. As long as they can put it into investments, it's fine. Investment real estate's fine, or stocks, or real estate debt. You can diversify, but it literally transforms families that otherwise thought they couldn't sell or wouldn't sell because of the tax. And the tax is the single, especially in the luxury world, probably the single biggest expense, bigger than your commission, bigger than the closing cost, bigger than the transfer tax. Like it's 20, 30, sometimes 35, 33% is kind of where primary homes kind of maxes out at of the gain, right? And so go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to get started. I was at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. I was at Marcus and Millichap, the 2008 crash, Wayne, and I sat there going, gosh, what could we have done better, right? This is before we knew about our strategy. And then I learned about it. I was like, oh, we could have done a lot better. But I think part of the industry is stuck in the old, they beat the 1031 drum.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they think about. And they have 5,000 QI companies beating the drum. They have lobbyists in DC lobbying for it, which is good. They should have that. We want the 1031. But we get stuck in that rather than going to alternative, and I think it should be the Netflix to the old Blockbuster 1031 strategy.
Well, what's interesting about it, Brett, is we talk about brokers needing to differentiate, agents need to differentiate, and what you've got is a massive differentiator. People just aren't talking about it.
Exactly. And so for anyone who's listening, you can reach out to us. We're happy to educate you and your team to unlock freedom and capital for clients that are exiting. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Okay. All right. Keep moving here. All right. So yeah, adding value, your uniqueness, right? Your understanding, having a structure in place, having a mindset that you can make more today. What are other ways that people are working with you, Wayne, and how are you helping them?
Well, I think at the end of the day, where it all starts for us, Brett, is we've all heard that saying, begin with the end in mind. I mean, we sit down and we pick an exit date and an exit proceeds with an owner and work backwards from there. And so the last part of that equation is the exit piece and I've been in this business, I've been coaching for 20 years now and helped a number of people build a big business and sell for millions and millions of dollars. And it's such a cool feeling, right, to watch somebody. It's interesting, one of them said to me, he goes, Wayne, we did it. He said, we made our surfboard, we paddled out, we caught our wave, and we rode it home. It's like,
oh, that's awesome. So you're helping them exit their brokerage business, right? To be able to get out. That's really neat too on your approach there. I think that's holistic. That's really smart. Not just grow it, but be able to exit well. Okay. Obviously tougher to exit these days than it was a few years ago, I imagine.
No,
or what do you think?
No, if you have a profitable business, I'm getting the same multiples. It's not. Where it's tough is if you got a money losing proposition. Then in a busy market, people buy anything. In this market, if you're not earning a profit, you're gonna struggle.
Okay, interesting. And so, are you helping to broker those real estate brokerage business exits, or
Yeah,
just
absolutely. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I have a separate M&A desk, and we run sales processes all the time.
Oh, this is great. Okay, cool. Yeah, we just did a CPA business exit for our service to defer the tax on it. So I guess there's even more synergies that we can work with. So what is the common multiple for a real estate brokerage these days? Maybe how many agents counts, the average production, like give me a feel for that. And are the people that are selling them just, wanting to retire, they're getting older and they're ready to give up the book of business? Like give me a feel for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Couple things to unpack what you said. First of all, everybody asks about the multiple. It's the question we hate the most. But a rough number right now is probably 3.25 to 3.5 times. That's going to be for a profitable franchise operation. It's independent. You're going to get a little bit more. And the deal structure looks very similar. There's probably, today we put in the deal structure, Brett, something we call guardrails, which protects both the buyer and seller if there's any wobble in gross margin. But typically, if there is financing, and most times there is seller financing, the way that the guardrails work, the seller always gets paid. And so, so what's different? Well, you might wait to 6 or 10 or 12 months longer to get paid. The note might stretch out a little bit, but you're always going to get paid. And so that's one thing that's different. But what's the same is you're getting the same money. if it's profitable.
Okay, interesting. All right. So let's say the EBITDA is about $1 million. So it would be about $3.5 to $3 to $3.5 million for the sales price. Is that a fair?
100%.
Yeah.
The only other thing you got to pay attention to is margin. If you're $1 million, you got a $100 million top line, and it's $1 million EBITDA. We're not going to get you 3.25. We need 15 to 20% margin.
Okay.
Because that is really the risk premium.
Right.
It ensures that if things, it's one of the clients that there's one particular client who I've helped grow from 23 offices to 65 offices. Mm-hmm. And he said, we all looked at this in 2024 and say, what could possibly go wrong? And then 2025 came. And so we needed that margin, right? In case there's any wobble at all, we know that we can soldier on.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And banks financing, you mentioned seller financing is how you're structuring a lot of these deals, which helps them on cap gains in the short term, right? Mm-hmm. How much are banks financing these deals though? If you just went strictly for, let's just say it's a $10 million brokerage purchase price.
Probably not going to get a bank interested. Most of that's going to be seller financing. But it's funny, okay. One time, recently I was talking to a bank about a larger deal. And the guy said, well, I don't like this business. And I said, why don't you like this business? He said, well, all the assets go home every day at 5 o'clock. And I said, well, that's true. But for the last 35 years, they've been showing up at 9 o'clock the next morning. And I'm pretty sure they're going to for the next 35 years.
Uh-huh. That would be the question. Like, if a bank's not financing them or this less likely to finance them, should they be concerned, Wayne, or when did they stop financing? Were they financing them 10 years ago, and then it just kind of? Yeah.
I think what it is, Brett, is when you get to a certain size, business becomes the commodity, if you will, or the business becomes the value, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think about the company you're with, the business is the value. Mm-hmm. If I've got a company of 200, 300, 400, 500 agents, I'm the value. People still know me. Mm-hmm. And if I don't show up for work in the morning, there's a possibility people look around and go, hey, where's Brett? I'm not coming to work anymore. But after you get to a certain size, it's beyond Wayne and Brett. The company has its own value. Right?
Okay, awesome. Well, speaking with Wayne Einhorn, everybody, you can learn more by going to innercirclebrokerage.coaching.com, innercirclebrokerage.coaching.com. Now, we were speaking mostly like residential brokerages and such, but this applies to anyone who's running, whether you be a financial advisor, whether you be a CPA, whether you be commercial real estate, residential real estate, you're building a business, you got to take these concepts and see how it can apply to your business. What haven't I asked you so far, Wayne, that you want to make sure you highlight?
I think you've hit it all, Brett. I mean, it's funny what you were just talking about. What I realized in the brokerage business when I was there is really it boiled down to core business fundamentals. And core business fundamentals work if you're a CPA, and if you're a financial advisor, and if you're a real estate agent. And I think that's really what we miss in this business. For whatever reason, we decide that we're going to try something different. I don't know what we try, but it's not core business fundamentals. And that's what we'll stick with.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Let's move to the lightning round. You ready, Wayne?
Yeah, go.
All right. Knowing what you know now, if you go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget make sure you tell yourself to do?
It's interesting. I would say don't worry. I used to put a lot of pressure on myself about success, and it's all going to work out. And it all did work out really, really well.
Excellent. Number one book you've recommended the most in the past year?
Oh, number one book, Who Not How, Dan Sullivan.
Excellent. Next question. Number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Your income is a measure of the value you bring to the marketplace.
Excellent. Next question. What are you most curious about right now?
What am I, like everybody, AI, man. Holy cow, I'm just so excited about that.
What's the number one AI tool that you see yourself, you find yourself using every day?
We're designing, I actually hired an AI group internally here, Brett, so we're designing tools for brokers, back-end tools. I know this is a lightning round, but as an aside, I think it's going to do a tremendous, help brokers cut one of the biggest line items in their on their income statement. But for us, it's automation tools, whisper flow, stuff like that allows us to really streamline our automation.
Excellent. I'm curious, what is whisper flow? What's that?
Oh my gosh, it is the most amazing tool, voice dictation tool. It learns your voice, learns how you speak. You know how when you use Microsoft dictation, it's all oh,
Yeah.
no, this is nothing, man. You can on your iOS, on your desktop, talk, and I haven't typed an email in 3 months.
Got it. Okay, so that you highly recommend Whisper tool. Okay, I'll check that out.
Whisper Flow, and it's WISPR.
Okay.
WHISPR, not ERPR.
Okay.
Whisper Flow.
Whisper Flow. Okay, excellent. Great. Next question. How do you best stay ultra disciplined and super healthy?
That's a good. Hey, for me, it's first thing in the morning. First of all, everything is a habit, right? And so I go to the gym every day, and so if I get up in the morning, there's no decision about what I have to do. I get up every day, and took me probably 50 years of my life to learn how to eat, Brett. But be disciplined in your diet. As you get older, what I learned is you can't out cardio your diet. That's not a good strategy.
Excellent. Very last question, Wayne, and it'll wrap up the show. And we're really about helping people build a mindset of stewardship over ownership, and being able to be a blessing with the gifts they've been given. And so, how do you best keep a mindset of stewardship over ownership on a consistent basis?
I think that has, for me anyways, Brett, to do with legacy. Part of we have a set of values and operating principles. One of our operating principles is that we give away that which has been so freely given to us. I mean, we've worked hard and made some good decisions, but honestly, we've had it pretty good. And so we try to, when it comes to stewardship, if I've got a responsibility myself to help a bunch of others, it keeps me disciplined to look after myself.
Wayne Einhorn, it's been more than a pleasure having the show. Thank you for diving in with some key wisdoms about scaling businesses, in particular real estate brokerage businesses, and being a person who's been dedicated to the real estate world for so long. And I would encourage you to keep doing what you're doing to help brokerages scale and sell and exit and do great. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, one last time, what's the best place for them to find you?
InnerCircleBrokerCoaching.com. Click there. There's tons of resources, and you'll be able to get in touch with us.
Awesome. I want to thank all of our listeners for also listening or viewing our podcasts and YouTube channels. There's really 3 going on right today. There's Expert CRE Secrets, Build It to Billions, and Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Yes, it's 1 interview, 3 podcasts, because Wayne is one of those most extraordinary type of people that we like to interview. So check us out on any or all of those. And of course, if you have any questions or big exits coming up, check out Wayne for real estate brokerage exits. And if you all as well, check us out for building a capital gains tax exit plan, so you can have an extra 20 to 50% working for you post-closing by using our strategies. An installment sale with the trust. You can check it out by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. I'm Brett Swarts. He's Wayne Einhorn, and we'll talk to you all again real soon. Bye now.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.